This American cop was pure evil. In 1965, Officer Harry Kane was trusted by everyone in the small town of Blandford, Arkansas. Known as the nicest guy in town, he seemed to be the perfect protector. But Harry had a dark secret. None of the criminals he arrested ever made it to jail. Rookie Officer Justin Time grew suspicious. Harry never filed reports, claiming that paperwork was for losers. Determined to find the truth, Justin followed Harry one night after he took a drunk driver into custody. Instead of going to the station, Harry drove deep into the woods. Justin watched from the shadows as Harry dragged the handcuffed man into an abandoned cabin. Inside, Justin saw rows of jars, each labeled with a name. To his horror, Harry opened one of the jars and stuffed the screaming man inside, sealing it shut and calmly placing it back on the shelf. Stunned, Justin stepped back, accidentally snapping a twig. Harry froze, then turned slowly toward the noise and, with a chilling smile, said, "Sometimes I keep them close so they don't get out of hand." Justin managed to escape and reported everything he saw. But by the time the police arrived, Harry was gone. The jars were real, and what was inside was beyond horror.
Hospital in the community and used it as a trafficking system to get more children. One day, a young Chilean boy choked and was rushed to the hospital. And right when he got there, a nurse scooped him up, brought him to a room, and saved his life. But later that day, his sister arrived and asked a nurse when she could pick him up to take him home. And the nurse responded that they needed to monitor him for a few more days, which is pretty suspect in a choking case. So a few days later, she comes back and she's like, okay.
True for stranger than fiction. The case of Richard Trenton Chase is a story which even the most depraved horror writer would struggle to create. Over the course of 4 weeks spanning across 1977 and 1978, Richard Chase took the lives of 6 innocent victims in Sacramento, California. His murders gradually progressed in violence, beginning with drive-by shootings and culminating in acts of cannibalism.
If you love true crime, you need to know about The Man from the Train, America's most mysterious and terrible.
This is a real thing. 5 young people came to a cave. Unexpectedly, 4 companions were trapped shortly after entering. When the rescue team came to the cave, they found that one of them was walking towards their companions with a knife. What happened to them trapped in the dark cave? It happened in December 1970 in New York, the United States. 6 cave explorers arrived at Rock's Cave as agreed. Because they didn't know that the cave was closed in winter, one of them said that they were all here and didn't want to leave any regrets. Unexpectedly, the other 5 people hit it off, leaving one team member outside the hole, and the others disappeared in the dark hole in turn. As the crowd deepened, the light gradually darkened, but it did not affect everyone's high mood. After the winding perspective, a narrow passage appeared in front of everyone. Due to its special internal structure, which is 20 meters long and only 45 centimeters wide, it is figuratively called the large intestine by the locals. After the 3 people in front of him passed smoothly in turn, Peter, who was only 14 years old and was damp, said the team members in front of him who were bigger than himself. This wave of advantage then made me climb into the cave without hesitation. But the too narrow and dark cave made Peter, who had insufficient experience in exploring the cave-seeking Iron Law looked behind his head, only thinking about passing through this passage that scared him as soon as possible when the figure of his teammates gradually became clear in his eyes. One of his legs somehow fell into the rock crevice in the panic. Peter tried to pull out his legs by squirming, but found that there was not enough space in any direction. What's worse, his legs are getting more and more stuck, as if he was half bitten by a rock. He shouted out of the cave in a trembling voice.
You would be placed in a metal coffin lined with extremely sharp spikes. This torture device was designed to trap its victims, slowly closing in and causing excruciating pain. This medieval torture device was purportedly used from the 15th century onward, though its exact historical use is debated.
A horrific statue has been found in a museum. It's the body of a woman. The head is studded with steel spikes, and the wings on her body were so conspicuous. The sheriff wasn't surprised. This is the fourth murder in the town. The 3 victims were also made into statues and placed all over the city, and the scene was clean of fingerprints. Anna turned over the candlestick in front of her and found a compass underneath and placed the pointer the killer had left on it. As the compass turned, the needle pointed to a bizarre painting. When she removed it, she found that the murderer had also left a string of characters. The police took the painting to the artist. When he saw the characters in front of him, it pointed out that this was the address of a fake painting. Since it's a copycat murderer, there's a good chance that he'll be copying other paintings. When they arrived at the gallery, they found a portrait and examined it. They found a fingerprint on it. The fingerprint was a woman's. They immediately went to the woman's home. Once inside, the stench hit their nostrils. The woman had already turned into a 1,000-year-old corpse. The police investigated the scene. They found out that this is where the artist lived. The corpse was also the artist's mother. The artist used his own mother as a test subject. It's all a plot by the artist. The police were fooled by the artist. Anna was furious and found the artist in custody. She threatened him with death if he lied to the police, but the artist was very calm.
The Black Dahlia case is one of the most notorious and mysterious unsolved crimes in US history. The fateful event took place in Los Angeles on January 15, 1947. On that day, Betty Bersinger and her daughter were walking in a deserted area when they came across what they initially believed was a mannequin. However, upon closer inspection, they discovered the mutilated and slashed body of Elizabeth Short, who would later be known as the Black Dahlia. Elizabeth Short, born on July 29, 1924 in Boston, was only 22 at the time of her tragic death. Her life was marked by adversity, from her father's business going bankrupt during the 29 crisis to her attempt to become an actress and model in Hollywood. Desperation led her father to fake his suicide, leaving Elizabeth and her sisters in a situation of extreme poverty. Determined to change her fate, Elizabeth moved to Los Angeles in search of opportunities in the entertainment industry. On the day of her death, Elizabeth's body was found in an empty lot, severed in 2 from the waist. The killer not only made precise cuts, but also removed all internal organs, leaving the body without a single drop of blood. The method used, known as the Glasgow Smile, involved cutting the victim's mouth from ear to ear, creating a disturbing expression on the deceased's face. The enigma of the Black Dahlia lies in the brutality of the crime and the lack of resolution. Despite the efforts of the police and the numerous suspects interviewed, the case remains unsolved to this day. Over 400 men were considered suspects, including the owner of a bar where Elizabeth used to frequent, Mark Hansen. However, no charges were successful and Hansen was ruled out as a suspect. An intriguing theory arises from Steve Hoddle, who claimed that his father, George Hoddle, was responsible for the murder. George Hoddle, a doctor with surgical knowledge, was a suspect in his time but was never convicted. The evidence collected by Steve Hoddle, including photographs and details of his father's life, has contributed to speculation about George Hoddle's possible connection to the crime.
However, coined the phrase, "You can't make this stuff up," might have known the story of real-life boogeyman Albert Fish. A slight, elderly man with grey hair, no one suspected the kindly single father of being sadistic child murderer and cannibal.
In 1952, the small village of Centralia, Pennsylvania, was a quiet mining town. But beneath its streets, something terrible was brewing. A coal mine fire started deep underground, and it didn't stop. For years, it burned. The ground cracked open, releasing toxic gases. Buildings began to collapse. The air turned deadly. Soon, the
10 terrifying true crime facts. If you live in Colorado, Colorado is known for its breathtaking mountains and endless wilderness. But beneath the beauty, darkness lurks. A land of vanishing hikers, unsolved murders, and horrors buried in the snow. If you live in Colorado, be careful. Because some things never stay buried. 1. The Rocky Mountain vanishings, gone without a trace. Hikers enter the Rocky Mountains every year, but not all of them come back. Bodies have been found months or years later, bones picked clean, clothes untouched. Some are never found at all. The most chilling part, many had emergency gear, GPS trackers, and years of experience. So what took them? 2. The Denver Hammer Killer, a monster in the night. In 1984, a man crept into Denver homes and bludgeoned families with a hammer. 2 families were slaughtered in their sleep, 1 couple left barely alive. The attacks were random, brutal, and merciless. Then, as suddenly as they began, they stopped. No one was ever arrested. No one knows why he stopped, or if he ever did. 3. The Smiling Man of Colorado Springs, a face you'll never forget. In 2016, a woman woke up to find a man standing in her bedroom. He was smiling, silent, staring. She screamed, but he didn't move. When the police arrived, he was gone. Weeks later, another family reported the same man, the same smile, the same terrifying stare. He was never caught. Some say he's still watching. The Boulder Jane Doe, a ghost. Without a name. In 1954, a woman's body was found in Boulder Canyon. Her hands were cut off, her face beaten beyond recognition. Authorities called her Boulder Jane Doe. For decades, no one knew who she was. No missing person reports matched. Only in 2022 did DNA finally reveal her name, Dorothy Gay Howard. But her killer, still a mystery. 5. The Ghost Town Murders. When no one hears you. Scream, Colorado is home to countless ghost towns, abandoned and forgotten, but some are not empty. In 2017, a traveler exploring an abandoned mining town found a rotting corpse nailed to a wall. No ID, no missing person report, no leads. The town? No one had lived there in 50 years. How did the body get there? 6. The I-70 Killer, a serial killer who vanished. In 1992, a mysterious gunman stalked victims along I-70, killing 6 people in random brutal executions. Each time he walked in, shot his victim in the head and left without a word. Then, he disappeared. Some believe he moved to another state, killing under a different name. Or maybe, he's still out there waiting. 7. The Frozen Corpse of Netherland. A body that never left. There's a man frozen in the mountains, and no one dares move him. Bredo Morstol died in 1989. His family refused to bury him. Instead, they kept his body on ice, hoping for the day he could be revived. Locals call him the Frozen Dead Guy. And every winter, they celebrate him. Some say the body moves at night. Others claim to have seen his eyes open. Would you dare check? 8. The Hellhound of the Rockies, a beast in the dark. Near Pikes Peak, campers whisper about a creature in the woods. They hear deep growls, footsteps that don't belong to any animal. One hiker's tent was found shredded, claw marks in the dirt. But no human or animal tracks. The last thing he told a friend before he disappeared? There's something out here. 9. The Columbine basement tapes, a nightmare that was hidden. The Columbine massacre in 1999 shocked the world. But what the public never saw? The basement tapes. The killers recorded hours of footage, detailing their plans, their rage, their chilling laughter. Authorities refused to release them. Some say it's because they're too disturbing. Others believe they hold secrets no one wants revealed. 10. The Black Forest Haunting, a house that breathes. In the 1990s, a Colorado family moved into a beautiful log cabin. Then the nightmares began. Shadow figures, flashing lights, footsteps in empty rooms. One night, the father woke up to find his wife levitating. Paranormal experts called it one of the most haunted homes in America. The family moved out, but new owners. They say the house is still alive. A final warning. Colorado is beautiful, but deadly. Some mysteries were never solved. Some killers were never caught. And some, they're still out there. If you live in Colorado, stay alert, because here, the mountains keep their secrets.
Ever heard somebody say that everybody will meet a serial killer at least one time in their life? I don't know if that's true or not, but here's my story about how I think I actually did meet a serial killer. Forewarning, this is a little creepy and it's a bit of a long story. So back in 2019 to 2022, I did real estate photography, mainly in Cincinnati, but kind of all over Ohio. One day I got a call about a job where the realtor told me that the daughter of the homeowner who had passed was going to let me into this house because she had the keys. No big deal, very normal. So I show up to the house on my motorcycle because that's how I roll. But when I show up, it's not a woman waiting for me, it's a guy. He's a little bit short, kind of pudgy, balding on top. I said, "Hey, are you the person that's supposed to let me into the house?" And he says, "Yes." I said, "Are you the husband of the woman that was supposed to let me in?" He says, "No, I'm a friend of the daughter whose mom lived in this house," which is very weird, but whatever, he had the keys. So we go inside, and this guy's giving me weird vibes immediately, but I chalk it up to maybe he's got a touch of the tism. I'm not going to judge him. Here's where the red flags start, though. When I started shooting, he kept walking closer and closer and closer to me, following me into every single room in the house. I repeatedly had to tell him to give me space so he wouldn't be in reflections and so he wouldn't bother me, but he wouldn't listen and kept getting closer and closer and closer. Now, I could have just packed up my stuff and left, or I could have finished shooting really quick so I could get paid, and I chose to finish shooting. So I rushed through all the photos and I tell him, "Hey, I'm done inside, I'm gonna shoot outside the house, and then after that, I'll be out of your hair." But then he says, "You forgot about the basement here." I said, "I didn't know that there was a basement. Is it finished? Because we don't usually take photos unless it's a finished basement." And he says, "No, but I would like you to take photos of it anyways because my friend of the friend told me that she wants photos of the basement." I thought that was kind of weird, but whatever. I don't want to argue with this guy. I just want to get this stuff done. So I'll go down, take 30 seconds to take one photo of the basement, and then I will leave. He shows me where the basement is, and I start to walk down the stairs, and I hear him following directly behind me, like one step behind my foot. So I stop midway down, and I turn around and say, "Can you not follow me down here? Because I'm going to take one photo of the whole basement, and I don't want you in the background." And he says, "I would like to come in the basement as well." We don't move for a second. I'm staring at him, he's staring at me. We're both standing in the middle of this staircase, and he has his hand behind his back. So I tell him, "I'm not going to take photos of this basement. Please move out of the way." He moves, but he doesn't get out of the basement. He just slowly pushes himself up against the wall, so I have to walk right next to him to leave. So at this point, I figure, this guy's either trying to rob me, kill me, or be romantic with me, and I don't want any three of those things to happen.